Hello everyone, Vanguard of Valor here, and welcome back to another episode of 80 Days. We've been making our way northwards instead of going east, as we try and travel around the world in 80 days. But as we make our way up towards the North Pole, all of a sudden, disaster strikes. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Disaster has struck. We tried to head this off of the pass a couple times here, but apparently we didn't manage it. So cold. The ice walker has been destroyed. We are stranded, or Monsieur Fogg is still alive, but only barely. Let's say that we're stranded for now. Woo, that's not good. We are stranded upon an ice floe in the bitterest cold I have ever experienced. I have only a few moments to scribble this entry, so I will keep it to the most important of facts. We have little hope of rescue, and few supplies. It seems certain that we will die here. Only, not yet. There is too much to do. On the ice. Perhaps you can think of something, Passepartout? I feel below par. Well, we can clean him up a little bit. Alright, let's clean him up with the shaving kit. There we go. And let's play some chess. There we go. Clean him up a little bit. Use some wool trousers to warm him up. There we go. He's recovering already. Very good. We are literally stranded on the ice, not even moving as we try and get to the North Pole. I have gained a little warmth in my fingers by putting them into compacted snow, enough to write. On the ice walker, nobody knows what happened. Disaster struck in the middle of the night. The Pomor crew suspect vengeful whales. The artificers blame boiler explosions. I could not help but remember Monsieur André's bitterness, and wonder if that man had placed a bomb aboard our craft and let us set out towards our deaths. The artificers blame explosions and cascade reactions. The endless, pointless debate on the matter is distracting, though heaven knows we need distractions. What of Vidi Jokinen's failsafes? They activated, saving us, a series of pneumatic escape tubes that shot us and pieces of equipment, crates, suitcases, all hurtling as far from the sinking wreck as possible. He had done his best, and I was grateful for that. But Vidi seemed to feel responsible for our situation and has lapsed into dark, brooding silences as he looks around our cobbled-together camp, or at our ever-dwindling stock of food. I can write no more. Too cold. We're deteriorating fast here on the ice. Maybe someone will come and save us. We're trying to clean him up a little bit, but it's not doing so much. Madame Juho glared up into the sky, muttered, "Bugger this," strapped on her snowshoes, and began walking out into the whiteness. I called after her, but she did not look back. I looked around at the thinned, ice-rhymed faces of the other survivors, and wondered how long it would be before another one of us gave up. Simply gave up and walked out into the snow. I swore it would not be me, and held that promise close to my chest, and fooled myself that it warmed me. I looked down at my master's too pale and shivering form, and tried desperately to think of how I could help him. Let's ask Monsieur Mazensky to help me. We shot a whale. Maybe that's enough to earn his appreciation. We could talk to the navigator we bribed, but a bribe is nothing short of just giving money to someone, so maybe we've won the help of Monsieur Mazensky. He offered me a thick fur from the Pomor bags.
"Keep Fogg warm," he said roughly. "It will help."
"Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you." He gave me a short nod, and I stumbled back to our makeshift camp to tend my master. Well, we haven't died yet. Our situation has deteriorated rapidly, but we're actually gaining health here, which is incredible. See if we can keep it up, though. The sky was ablaze when I awoke. Spectacular streamers of emerald green and bruised purple and flush pink. "The Aurora Borealis," a nearby artificer whispered in awe. "It's magnificent." It seemed to me as though the sky itself was giving us hope. painted in coruscating colors across the horizon. It seemed that the prospect of death makes me sentimental. Once more, I sought to aid my master. Let's see what the apprentice navigator we bribed helps. Seems like we're going to be talking to all of them here. The apprentice navigator I had once bribed beckoned me closer, pressing a vial of thick tonic into my hands. "It will help your master heal," he said. "Take it." Why? I dared not reach out. Why help me? He hesitated. "I didn't find out anything for you, did I? Consider it repayment." It seemed kindness was to be found, even at the edges of the world, past the point of human endurance. That was a really good survival tonic there. Actually improved our state. I don't know what'll happen here once we run out of people who can help us. Maybe we'll be rescued at some point, but we'll have to wait and see. I no longer truly remember what it is like to be warm. Perhaps I have never truly been so. The memories seem so fragile. They spin away like dust, like snow. There has only ever been this. Cold that has not enough mercy to numb. Wind that howls like a pack of wolves on the hunt. We're still at 60 survival for Phineas Fogg, although our own state may be in no better shape. He fears this will be his last night. I thought of Maman today. Her strength as she picked me up and flung me in the air. The surety I had had that she would catch me once more. I wonder what she would do, tossed out into the stark and barren landscape. Would she grind her fists into her eyes? Would she start to walk in any direction? Her feet should lead. Would she find water and try to swim? Maman, if by some strange and wild chance you should come to read this, think of me in Paris, a dappled late afternoon by the Seine, smoking gauloises and winking at pretty tourists. Think of me with love, as I am thinking of you now in this endless Arctic night. It is a grim fate that has met us here, but we'll see how long we can survive. Monsieur Fogg nearly lost 3 toes to frostbite. I have not been careful enough. I was not conscientious enough. The medic caught it in time, and he will not lose them. Small victories, but I will take them, each and every one. While I still had strength, I was determined to provide succor to Monsieur Fogg. I worked upon the chief navigator's guilt for striking me accidentally. A crude, perhaps honorless recourse, but it resulted in a thermos of warm, salty broth that I rationed out to my master in careful sips. We're not dead yet, although we may soon be. Monsieur Fogg and I have been sleeping curled against each other since the disaster. I tried desperately to press some small warmth into his body. I am so afraid for him. The barriers of propriety are strong very nearly unto death, but I no longer dare spit lies into the face of death. He is my true friend, and more than a master. I would follow him into hell's very jaws, and, indeed, I have. Hell has no fire. Hell is cold. If we survive, I will tear these pages out. I will burn them, and burn these very thoughts from my mind. I will be satisfied only to see him raise his left eyebrow and comment upon the temperature of the tea. I was determined to aid Monsieur Fogg, but there was nothing else I could do to help, so I simply sang to him as many soft nursery songs as my mind could recall. It helped not at all. Day 29, and we were not moving. Perhaps a touch more heat indeed. There is a strange black streak across the horizon. I can hear the others murmur, "An airship! An airship!" But I do not believe them. I cannot. A collective hallucination from people driven beyond hope, beyond reason, beyond bearing. I do not truly believe until I see Madame Juho standing on the deck. "Need a ride?" she shouts, her voice familiar and mocking. And I turn to Monsieur Fogg and smile. We are saved. We did it! We didn't die after all. All the people that we've communicated with and done things with along the way helped make sure we survive. It was definitely not an easy thing, but we've made it. So, to say what happened then, the injured, Monsieur Fogg included, were whisked away by the medics, who were wrapped in blankets with brisk efficiency and giving steaming cups of broth. Madame Juho stood with an older man in a blue Sami Gakti and a reindeer fur coat, their silhouettes framed by the observation windows. "You saved us," I said. "Thank you." The man made a disgusted sound.
If Raja had done her duty correctly, you would not be here.
Duty? What duty? I looked between them, feeling a deep sense of unease. I was supposed to make sure that the expedition did not make it to the North Pole, Madame Juho responded evenly, fingering her copper lily brooch. I adjusted the instruments to push us off course, but I had nothing to do with the wreck.
Why would you betray the artificers?
She looked uncomfortable. I have other allegiances that come first, to my people and family.
All of which is moot, Juho, the man interjected, as you have failed resoundingly.
I could not let them die out there, she replied, sounding uncharacteristically chastened. And I applaud that decision, madam, I declared weakly, as I cast a glare at the older man, and Madame Juho laughed desultorily. Passepartout, she stiffened. This is my father, Ivor Juho, semi-representative to the Council of Circumpolar Northern Peoples. Madame Juho looked out of the window and took a deep breath. We have arrived. I looked out of the window. A city rose up out of the pale mist and ice, an alchemical dream of glass and copper and bone. Interconnected tents of reindeer skin and carved whale's bone lined snow-packed streets. Frozen rivers were arched with delicate bridges of copper and zinc. Here and there, impossibly lush tangles of trees and shrubs grew under domes of glittering, ice-rimed glass. The heart of the city, a vast, towering structure of steam boilers and copper pipes. Welcome to the North Pole, Madame Juho said, subdued. To the sacred city of Kausituk. Well, we made it after all. The North Pole. Let's take a look around and see what mysteries are here for us. This, then, is the North Pole. It is a city with streets of carved ice, filled with a mixture of Arctic peoples. Many Sami, but also Siberian Nenets, tattooed Yupiks, and Netsiliks, Alaskan Inupiats, even some Buryats and Khanty. We disembarked in a hobbling procession led by Monsieur Juho. People watched us as we passed, suspicion and fear in their faces. I smiled and nodded assiduously, hoping to reassure. Soon enough, a few enterprising Ninette children slipped their parents' grips and walked alongside us, chattering. It is not personal, Madame Juho put a hand on my elbow. You are the first outsiders to set foot here since the city's founding. A privilege, I answered. You mean you are thankful to be alive? Well, you are quite right, she said grimly. I had to beg my father to let you come. I heard the bitterness of old hurts and congealed resentments in her voice. It seemed her relationship with her people, her family, was not so simple as to be easily encompassed under the word duty. "Will you be in much trouble?" Madame Juho's expression was unreadable. "We will tend to the injured and let you rest. Tomorrow, most likely, you will be called to the council." "For judgment?" I asked, half-jokingly. At least, that was what I told myself. She only set her mouth into a thin line, and led us silently to a low-roofed tent, hung with carved walrus tusk and polished antlers, no doubt hastily cleared for our arrival. No matter. At least we were still alive. Well then, it sounds like the adventure isn't over yet, although we've recovered quite a bit here. Let's sleep and see what the next day will bring. I claimed a bed heaped with furs and blankets, and, after being chased from Monsieur Fogg's bedside by a sharp-tongued doctor. Do we seek out Madame Juho for more answers, or do we scour the city for some means of onward transport? Onward's transport will certainly be a problem. I don't know if we'll get the opportunity to take it, but the more paths that we have might be the better. But I want to know what's going on. We sought out Madame Juho for more answers. I was not the only one to have this idea. She was in the midst of a heated argument with the chief navigator. I hung back for a moment to listen. "I thought you were colleagues, friends," the chief navigator stormed. "You interfered with my instruments." "I had a compelling reason," Madame Juho replied shortly. I found my shoulders hunching defensively. "What reason?" I demanded. "What was your mission, in amongst the artificers like that?" "It was not to murder you!" Her dark hair flew about her face. "The world is not so simple. I will not let you cast me as a villain." "Then what are you?" I... The rage dissipated, leaving her face empty and ravaged. "I am trying to live my life the best that I can in the circumstances I was born into. You see how strange those circumstances are, hiding up here like thieves in an attic." "I understand." I looked away, lost in memories of my own. "There are things we choose, but not everything. Not all the time. Sometimes each choice is a sacrifice, and all you can decide is what to lose." Madame Juho shuddered. "Give her a hug?" "Let's give her a hug." I pulled her into an impulsive embrace. She sobbed once, harsh and terrible, before scrubbing her hands over her face and fleeing wordlessly into the night. Such is the way of things. Such is the way of things. I don't feel like we should be sleeping now. We have a important event to undertake here. But I don't know what else we can do right now other than pass the time. If we accelerate things, does that change anything for us here? Doesn't look it. I guess we sleep again. The council met against the towering steam boilers in the heart of the city, both literal and figurative. 15 men and women sat in simple chairs of sinew and fur, drawing their authority from the technological marvel which they commanded. The survivors of the expedition were gathered, and I saw familiar faces among them. The chief engineer and pilot jostling, Monsieur Mazensky and his Pomor hunters glaring and gaping in equal measure. I stood apart with Monsieur Fogg, who was rather irate that the doctors had taken his clothes and garbed him in Sami fashion. I was no artificer, and did not want to be taken as one. Monsieur Juho stood, and silence rippled out. He spoke a commanding sentence in... Was that Turkish? You say we don't understand? I don't want to interfere. The artificers nodded, apparently conversant in the tongue despite their largely Nordic origins. I peered at them in bafflement. Madame Juho elbowed me sharply. "Pay attention!" she hissed. "Can you interpret for me?" I hissed back. "Turkish, really?" Madame Juho translated the councillor's words. "Kalsuituk was founded for one purpose, for the circumpolar peoples to learn and develop the technologies of steam and oil and automata, to make them our own before they destroy our homes, our culture, our way of life." "Technology brings change, not destruction," I muttered earnestly. "We have seen what has happened to the Native Americans, to the First Peoples, to the Khazars and Buryats." Madame Juho's face was still as carved stone, and it was clear she spoke her own words rather than the councillor's. "We will not let that happen to us." The council erupted in argument, stealing whatever response I thought to give. "What are they arguing about?" I demanded. "The council wants to stay isolated and keep all of you prisoner." Madame Juho cast me a look of pinched sympathy. "The shamans are voting with them for a change, but the progressives recently discovered more oil and natural gas in the Barents Sea and are petitioning for the right to hire outside drilling expertise, so they're voting against isolation. And the international unionists have been looking for an excuse to start throwing their weight around." "International unionists?" I asked faintly. "Oh yes. They want a nation of circumpolar peoples tying together any lands that fall within the Arctic Circle." Madame Juho smiled. "We are more Arctic than we are Russian or Finnish or Laplander, are we not? What does a Muscovite truly know of winter?" "Do you support them?" "If they succeed, then we will be at war with half the world. I am too practical to court war." Her eyes gleamed. "For now, anyway." There was a sudden hubbub, and a loud announcement. I heard some of the expeditioneers gasp, and tremulous smiles on a few faces. "What did the councillor say?" I demanded. But Madame Juho's expression was blank. "Passepartout, I am sorry." "What did they say?" "You will be our guests until the council is ready to announce itself to the world." I demanded the chance to plead our case. For a moment, Madame Juho considered my words. Then she shook her head. "I have seen your tongue in action, Passepartout," she declared coldly. "I have no doubt that you might convince the council to do something against its interests. I will not help you. Not again." A set of guards began herding us back to our lodgings, and I threw myself on my pallet. This, it seemed, was to be the end of our great adventure. Something will change, though. There's a way out of this, I'm sure. We won't be trapped here forever. I awoke in the semi-dark to find my master shaking my shoulder. "Monsieur Fogg!" I exclaimed. He placed a finger to his lips, and, at his unspoken command, I quietly gathered up our bags and followed him onto the ice-packed streets. "We are not staying here, Passepartout," he told me, and then pointed at a pair of dark airships to the west of the city. "We have a wager to win, and that is our way out." "Should we sneak aboard, monsieur?" I asked softly. "We will remain hidden till we are away from Kalsuituk, and then," he paused delicately, "adjust our plans to emergent circumstances." "Ah," I said sagely. "We'll improvise." "Quite so," he replied, readily enough. "Which airship should we aim for?" I scrutinized them both. There was nothing to tell them apart. "The one on the right," I said, and felt immeasurably better for having made a decision, however arbitrary. "Well then," said Monsieur Fogg, "let us depart." And we're out! Heading far, far away. Look at that. A route to Gastown from the North Pole. It's time for us to depart. They can take 10 bags. Well, what do you know? Time for us to leave. The Nanette's airship to Gastown. Far more than we need, but our cold weather gear should make this altogether bearable. The Nanette's airship. Monsieur Fogg and I devised a simple plan to sneak aboard the airship. Do we join the crew, or do we wedge ourselves in a pair of supply crates? No, I think we're going to join the crew. We pulled our fuller hoods down and joined the massive crew as they scurried aboard. Once inside, I found us both a warm, if cramped, hiding place near the boiler rooms. I breathed a sigh of relief as we felt the airship loose its tethers and take to the skies. Traveling once more! It's too bad that our companions won't be able to leave with us, but we've made it out. We were awoken by a series of loud raps against the door of our hiding place. "Please come out," a voice called. "We know you're there." We remained silent, casting a warning glance at my master. I heard a loud sigh from outside, and the voice continued. "Don't worry, you're safe with us." Monsieur Fogg took matters into his own hands and opened the door. A middle-aged Nanette's woman stood at the head of a small troop of guards. "I am Captain Ain Vanuito," the woman grinned, her dark eyes glinting. "And you two are aboard my beautiful ship." "She's a wondrous vessel indeed," I agreed, reasoning that all captains like to hear their airships praised, even by stowaways. "Isn't she?" Captain Vanuito sighed. "She's the most aerodynamic ship we've ever built." "The lines of her hull are quite remarkable," I agreed, with a sickly smile. The captain stroked a bulkhead besottedly. "Oh, you're really too kind," she murmured. I summoned all of my courage. "Where, pray, is our destination?" The captain cleared her throat. "We are heading to Gastown, in Canada. I see no need to alter our course, do you?" "Indeed not, Captain," I replied heartily, a grin spreading under my fine mustache. "Well then," the captain continued briskly, "let's get you a proper cabin and a good meal. It's roast seal tonight, and cook's an absolute marvel with seal." That night, I remembered to adjust the pocket watch as we had crossed the international dateline and gained ourselves a day. Well, it seems as though we chose the right airship. Of all the things that could have happened here, it seems like we have been saved a terrible fate. Let's see if Monsieur Fogg knows anything about Gastown. Apparently you can ride the Pacific Railway from Gastown to Calgary. Well, that sounds most wonderful. What can we do in Calgary? We can pick up walrus teeth in Calgary, which are quite valuable in Quebec City. That sounds most interesting. And let's ask about Winnipeg. You know a man who always wanted to travel aboard the Winnipeg and Duluth Railroad from Winnipeg to Chicago? Interesting. We can go Gastown to Calgary, Calgary to Winnipeg, and Winnipeg all the way down to Chicago. What do you know? The captain brought out a bottle of acrid spirits our second night aboard and handed it around. I took a sip and felt my throat catch fire. It felt as though my head had been shattered and hastily reconstituted. My tongue was entirely, blessedly numb. "Strong stuff," I managed to cough out, to scattered applause and hoots. "So," I asked the captain, after the atmosphere was loosened a little by drink and camaraderie, "why are you headed into Canada?" "We sell technology to the First Peoples in exchange for news and gossip," she replied easily. "The Council is cautious, but they understand the value of accurate information." "You trust the First Peoples to keep your secret?" The captain steepled her fingers. "It is better to cultivate allies now, rather than pretend that we can stay hidden forever, which is why I vote with the progressives." A brawl broke out between two of the aircrew, and the captain excused herself to go thump the perpetrators' heads together. Well, well. The outline of the Canadian coast loomed green and inviting through the observation windows. The frontier settlement of Gastown lit yellow and shrouded in steam vapor. "We are here already!" I exclaimed. One of the navigators preened.
Our ships are the fastest in the air, he boasted, cracking his knuckles. Not that the rest of the world knows anything of it.
We tethered smoothly and disembarked onto sweet, blessed land. Good luck, Passepartout, Captain Vanuito called in parting. And after all of that, we've made it back to the world we know. If we take a look in the market, what do you know? It only sells for 200 here, but that's still a profit in what we brought with us. What other things could we get here? We could get driving goggles, playing cards, a railway cap, what do you know? Cotton flowers, which are valuable in Chicago. We'll probably head there eventually. An accordion, valuable in Regina, Chicago, and Ottawa. Or a windscarf for the dusty road. We might pick up most of these things and fill another suitcase with some more supplies. But for now, I think we will end this day here. Thank you for watching, everyone. This has been Vanguard of Valor. Playing another day, another game, episode, words are hard, of 80 days. If you enjoyed our Arctic adventures, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, bye-bye.